Sumatra Animator, one more thing. I just realized I maybe should answer your question. I found the super chat that you made, and you asked, "Hi, how bad is the Pimax 8K to be configured? Do you have to struggle with SteamVR, P-tools, drivers, INI files, etc.?" Well, let me just say that to be able to even use the Pimax 8K or the 5K Plus, you need the P-tool. It's a software that's basically running in the background. Very simple software where you have a couple of settings that you can change. You can change first off the field of view. There are three options. There is a small, a normal, and a large. The small is around 120 degrees. The normal is around 150, 155 degrees maybe, and the large is 170 degrees. I'm talking about the horizontal field of view. There is not much of a difference actually between the normal and the large, even though it's between 150 and 170 degrees. You would think that the difference is huge, but it's not actually. And a lot of people, maybe including me as well, actually prefers the normal field of view. Anyway, before you can change the field of view in a game, you cannot do that during playing a game. You have to quit the game, quit SteamVR, change that setting in P-tool, and then start off SteamVR again. That's the trouble. Everything you change in SteamVR or in P-tool, you then have to restart SteamVR and the game itself that you're running. So yeah, so far this is how it works. Besides the field of view, you have like a render resolution quality in P-tool, and it goes beyond 0.5, 0.75, 1.0, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, and up to 2.0. Before some kind of update, we have up to 3.0, but they changed the whole scale of the slider. So now it's 2.0, that's the maximum. And here is where you actually define the rendering resolution of the game, because the game is rendered through the P-tool renderer. It's not rendered through the SteamVR render. What happens is that it's first rendered with the P-tool, and then it goes through the SteamVR, and then you have that's SteamVR super sampling or render scale option, and if you pass it on a 100%, that's going to be the identical resolution that you used in P-tool, right? So if you have P-tool 1.0, you're going to have a resolution of maybe 3000 something times 2000 something, right? And if you start off SteamVR, you're going to see that resolution if you have it on 100%, the render scale. But then you can lower down that setting however you want, up or down. I would say that going up doesn't do much difference. Going down, you actually gain a lot of performance, but you don't lose much of quality. Actually, no quality at all noticeable, I would say. Below 50%, I would say. I would actually say that you won't see any difference below once you start to go below 40% and lower than that. You'll gonna start to see some more jagged edges and so, because the resolution, because what you do is that you're first rendering the game with P-tool, let's say resolution 4000 times 3000 or whatever, right? Then you're downscaling it with SteamVR to 2700 times 2200, for example, having the SteamVR at 60%. What happens though is that you actually gain a lot of performance, and you won't see much of a difference in the HMD itself. But just as the field of view option, you have to make that change before you actually start off SteamVR, or you have to restart SteamVR in between and the game as well. What more? There are some other options, like some game fixing options to fix some of the stuff in games. I'm not sure if those options are going to be included in the final version of P-tool when the headset gets released. We'll see. There are some other stuff. There's going to be a 60 Hz mode as well. There's going to be a brightness adjustment. Maybe that brightness adjustment will be able to be adjusted in real time. I really hope so, because that will probably be a hardware adjuster. So, in terms of that, that's all you actually change. And I would say that once you find a good value, for me it was mostly P-Tool 1.75, for example, with the 8K, at least 8K M1, and then Steam VR like 40 or 50%. It kind of worked quite well in most games, and it was still a reasonable resolution, great image quality, and mostly smooth gameplay. So once you find your optimal settings, you actually don't need to change much. And I think we have requested that people are gonna have some kind of profile settings so you can change or save settings for each game, because you can actually launch games from the P-Tool as well, both Steam VR games and the Oculus Home games. So yeah, it's not much of a fiddling, I would say. You don't need to change any INI files. The field of view is just working. It just works. There's nothing you need to do like modding the VR games. I'm just checking if everything is still recording. Yes, it is. So yeah, I'm not sure if there is anything more to answer about this. INIs don't care about that. Drivers, no. Well, once you install the drivers needed, it's just gonna work. And I have not had any big problems with any games. And well, there are a couple of games, very few games that are struggling right now, not in terms of performance, but in terms of image quality. There's some kind of game engine fault. I'm going to mention that in the review. I'm not going to mention it now. Hopefully that's going to get fixed with upcoming P-Tool versions and the firmware updates of the headsets as well. But yeah, I think that's it. We have Steam VR, we have P-Tools, and P-Tool needs to be running, as I said. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit more fiddling than usual, but you kind of get used to it, and it's not a big issue for me. I think that it's good that we have the freedom actually to choose way higher resolution. Well, we can have crazy high resolution. We're rendering the game with a crazy high resolution, like 8,000 times 4,000 or something. It's like 8K resolution, natively, and then it's going to get downscaled to the 1440p and then sent to the headset. And yes, it's going to make a difference, but of course we don't have any GPU that can drive this or can run this in practically any game except for maybe Job Simulator or something, or very simple Unity games, even simpler than Job Simulator. So yeah, this is it. Don't worry too much about the configuration. It's a little bit more fiddling, but it's still not much more than Oculus Home or Oculus Rift, where you actually have that Oculus Tray Tool software where you're changing the super sampling. So yeah. And there is much more into this, how you start off the games, how you can start off Oculus games from the P-Tool as well and everything. But I'm going to mention more about that later.